It's Wednesday, Klaus here. It's time for another basic Davinci Resolve tutorial.
Hello, Klaus here. It's Wednesday and time for another basic Davinci Resolve tutorial. In today's episode, we're going to move into Fusion and get some basic understanding of what Fusion is. So let's jump into Fusion. So here we have Fusion, and I'm just going to close down all the stuff here. So this is the Fusion page, and inside of the Fusion page, it is the Davinci Resolve's answer to Adobe's After Effects, even though the two programs are very different. Let's say After Effects is working with layers and Fusion is working with nodes. So let's just have a quick look at what is inside of Fusion. So up here we have all the tools that are the most common tools used inside of Fusion. And for this little thing we're going to do right here, we're actually going to do a Fusion composition. And the way you could do that, you can actually start that out from the Edit tab. So if I go back to the Editing tab, I go up to the Effects library, I go down to Effects, and I take this Fusion composition, and I'm going to drag that down here into my timeline in the Edit page. And this is a 5 seconds clip, which should be good enough. So let's go back to Fusion with the cursor at the beginning of this clip. So now we have here a media out node, and this is our final composition right here. But that's all there is. So how do you actually put in things in Fusion? If we go here, we have a background layer or a background node. I'm going to drag that in. And if I connect this to my media out, we're now going to have a background. In this case, it's a black background. If we want to change stuff around, we can highlight the background and go up to the inspector. And here we can change the colors and stuff like that. So if we wanted to change the color, we could change it to some kind of a blue color, like that. And what is very great about this also is that this is setting the size of our composition. In this case, this is a 1080. If I took in something else, like a photo, and it was smaller or larger, that would set the timeline resolution, and maybe that's not going to be what you want. Okay, so how do we actually get stuff in here? Because if I want to take, for instance, a text, I'm going to drag down a text, I can't put it here. I need to make Fusion see that I actually want to put in a text. So the way you're doing that would be to use a merge node. And the merge node are right here. So you can actually, there's two ways of doing it. You can drag it down to this line and it turns blue, and then you can just let go and it's going to add in the merge. The other way you can do it if you want to add in the text is you can take this output here and put this into the output of the background, and it's going to make you a merge node automatically. So if we go to the text now, we can go up to the inspector and we can type in stuff. Let's write text. And then we could, for instance, since this is a text plus node, we can go in and change stuff around. So now we have a text. We can change the font as usually, like we can do in the edit page. We can hover over the things and see our different fonts. I'm just going to take Tahoma and I'm going to make this bold. So if we want to make something with this text, we can go into the different things here. We have a layout, a transform, and shading. And in this case, we're going to use the shading. And here we have the shading elements. And if we toggle off the element 1 and enable this, you can see what that's doing. That is basically just the text. If we go into number 2 and we add that, we're going to make an outline. I'm just going to zoom in. I'll do that on the plus and minus buttons on the keyboard. That's going to do an outline, and then of course you could change the color of the outline to something else if you wanted to do that. If we go into number 3, it's a drop shadow, and you can change the softness and stuff like that, the movement, how you want it to be. You can give it a bit of glow, and you can also blend it in. You can change the position of your shadow, and all of these things can be changed in here. So I'm just going to enable number 3 yet again, and then you can play around with the different modes, but the most common one are 1, 2, and 3. At least that is what I'm using most of the time. So that is how you would add basic text into Fusion. And Fusion can do a lot of different things as well. We can do particles, we can work with 3D and do 3D text and stuff like that. But for this little Fusion video, this is just the very basic. Also, if you want to add in an effect more, like let's say we want to add in a blur, I'm just going to disconnect my text here. I'm going to take in a blur, and then I'm going to take my text. I'm going to go into the blur, and going from the blur into the merge. So now I have this blur text. So if I want to do some kind of an animation, I can actually go into my blur, and I can take my blur size. I can put this to, for instance, 0. And if I go up here I have all the frames in my composition, and I'll go to the first frame here, and then I'll go to the blur size. I'm going to blur out my text. I'm going to put in a keyframe, and let's say I'll go to frame 30. And when we are at frame 30, I want my blur size to go to 0, so it will be in focus. So now we have done this blur to focus effect inside of Fusion. And of course, this is just a little thing you can do inside of Fusion. And I just want to make this video to get you to the basic understanding of how do nodes work versus layers, if you are familiar with After Effects and other programs using layers. In theory, you can do the exact same thing. You just have to get in your head the idea of putting nodes together to do the effect. So this was just a basic look at how to start using Fusion. In upcoming episodes, we're going to do more complicated things than this. Again, hope you found this little video useful. If you did, please hit that subscribe button, give the video a like, share it with your friends if you think it would help them out. And if you want to be notified every time there's a new video on this channel, please hit that bell icon down in the corner. Until next time, keep filming, keep learning, and keep sharing.